Well, hey, Katie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, good to have you. This is your first time in this space, isn't
Absolutely. It's beautiful.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The staff did a great job on this, I think.
Oh, I love the color. I love the decorations. It's awesome.
It's pretty fun. So hopefully we'll use it well, right? That's our goal. So I'm glad that you're here. We are going to talk really about stewardship. We have our annual giving drive coming up, and our theme is Because, and the tagline is Why Church Matters in the World Today. And people are answering because... whatever their answer is. And so we've been having other videos made where people are giving us a one-line answer to that.
Yeah.
And so today I want to talk a bit about, I want you to introduce yourself, maybe talk a little bit about your church background, what stewardship is to you, but focus more for those who are listening on when we give financially to a church, what does a church budget or mission plan mean? How might it be used? And what are some of the visionary aspects, entrepreneurial aspects, because of course you have a lot of experience with this.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that, but I like to think I do.
Yeah, you do. So why don't you tell us
Sure.
your name and a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So I'm Dr. Katie Post. I'm a general dentist. I own and operate Northwest Dental Group here in Rochester. I grew up in Iowa, in Slater, Iowa, Greater Slater.
Love it.
I went to Ballard of Huxley.
Ooh.
There were 4 little towns together that made that up. My father's a veterinarian there, retired, and a farmer. And so I grew up with that. My mom was a special ed teacher. So I spent, she was able to stay at home with us when we were younger, but then I was able to spend a lot of time with her with severe and profound special needs.
Oh, wow.
And I think, I had this envision that I would marry very well, and I would just donate my time to these individuals that needed help.
How did that work out for you?
Not well. Not so well at all. And however, I definitely have a passion for that. So I see a lot of people, not only patients who are autistic or Downs, but people who've had total heart transplants or severely medically compromised patients that nobody else will see. Yeah. And I get a lot back from that.
Yeah.
And 1, they're funny, but 2 is just like that relationship of I've been very blessed not to be in that situation, and I can help them a little. Yeah. So I love that and love being a part of their families and their lives.
I did not know this about you. That's a form of stewardship in and of itself.
Really.
Oh,
for sure.
I mean, a way of giving of yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. And I think it shows, it's funny because I tell them sometimes I'm jealous of them. They're jealous of me of having kids, of doing this. I'm jealous of them. Their kids will always need them. Yeah. And my kids don't need me, which is really sad.
We all most of us cross that line at some point or
another. Oh,
right?
God, it's brutal.
I know, right? They're so dependent on you, and then you find, it's hard at first when you bring that child home, you don't have an owner's manual, and you realize that everything that they need is
so
dependent on you. And then you're there. It takes you a while to adjust. It's all you. And then the rest of your life, they peel away from you.
Yes. Yes. And I spent 18 years worrying about what Ethan would eat for 3 meals a day. Yeah. And if his diaper was changed and all this other stuff. And now it's like you go weeks and it's like.
Yeah. Well, what's going on? Nothing.
Are you breathing?
Exactly.
I can see on Life 360 you're not moving.
Exactly. I know you're moving, but is someone moving you or are you moving on your own?
Yes. It's so hard.
Exactly.
So that, I think that my mom's role and like, she could love a dead tree, and that really shaped me. And my dad, his best friends are his clients that he took care of their animals. And it's funny, he can tell you the name of their dog that died 20 years ago, but not their name.
Wow. Right.
And, but just sort of that combine of that compassion and that caring, that's kind of where I started. And dentistry was perfect. I can talk all day. Nobody can talk back. Mm-hmm. I love art.
Well, we could try. Right?
That's exactly what it is. And I can do art with my hands, which is really fun, and that has been a great part. I would say one thing that I really learned from my dad is stewardship. I mean, as part of being a part of a community, our small town would not function without the contributions that he was willing to make. 1, keeping the doors open to our church. Yeah. 2, but more importantly than money, is time. And effort and talent. And it's actually much harder for me to give time and talent than it is money.
Well, because you're busy business person. I mean, you've got a lot of responsibilities. I mean, you really do.
And just being a mom.
Yeah. Yeah. On top of that. Right. Exactly.
And so that was one thing I was challenged with 2 or 3 years ago is I see you giving money, but I don't see you giving time. Yeah. And how can you give your talents or share those talents that God has entrusted you with and to work through you to help other people? And so I've made a conscious effort to try to do that. One at church, being on the council, working with kids. One through some of the mission trips that we've done with the kids. I've gone on mission trip with the middle schoolers, that kind of thing. With Ronald McDonald House, serving meals, taking our family, taking our neighborhood. Because a lot of people complain they don't even know the names of their neighbors.
Right.
And so I try to arrange at least minimum once a year where we go as a neighborhood to serve a meal at the Ronald McDonald House together, which is kind of a great community thing, because otherwise in Minnesota you don't see your neighbors all winter.
That's right. Yeah, everyone's holed up trying to stay warm, and if you do see them outside, they have face masks on and hoods.
And it's like a 1-minute conversation.
Yeah, because you freeze if you say anything more. Exactly.
And if you want to bond with somebody, serve with them.
Yeah.
And then through our free dental clinics, the Good Sam Dental Clinic. So cool. I require our doctors to volunteer there. I volunteer there, try to give back to the community. It's super cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's good work. So I want just maybe to clarify a little more. So clearly that is from your dad and your mom. This is something that you really... so maybe the question is how would you, if you could in a sentence, define stewardship? And then as you were a kid watching your parents involve themselves in what we're calling stewardship, what specifically did you glean from them? I mean, you said your dad, kept the doors open and things like that. But what did you see them do? And what was your impression? Like, Mom and Dad, you're not here. You're doing too much. I mean, what was the feeling?
So I would say definitely giving of their talents and time. Mm-hmm. They were great at that. Yeah. They both coached multiple sports. They both physically doing landscaping at the church, all of those things. They were both very, cooking meals for funerals, that kind of thing. That they did. What I didn't appreciate is they were donating maybe $50 or $25, or somebody would ask them for money and they would give money always, but it was maybe minimal. I never remember it being anything that was like, is this something that is going to, we really have to think about this donation? When Dr. Sperling was an amazing mentor of mine. He is very generous, and you would never know it. Yeah. He won't tell a single person, and does so much for this community in so many different layers that people probably never will give him credit for. Right. And but he introduced me to this coach in Atlanta who is very religious, and so he's the one. This Jay has really, really challenged me over the years to be a steward of my money. So when I donate it, I can't just write you a check for my 20% or 10%, right?
Yeah, right.
I need to be a steward of that and be responsible. So if it's misspent, that's on me. Right? And so I was donating to a nonprofit in town that sponsored kids that were at risk, and I really believed in it. I got bought and sold. Yeah. And I was donating time. And come to find out, 90% of the money that I was donating was taking the owner of this nonprofit and his buddies out to bars and on fun trips. And very little was actually making an impact on the kids. And it wasn't until a patient said, hey, I saw on social media you're doing this. Have you known this about this company, this nonprofit? And I look it up. And you know what? That's me being a poor steward of where the money is going. Wow. That's 100% on me for being that dumb, And so since then, I've really tried to be a lot more thoughtful, a lot more intentional about what did God bless me with this money? This is His, right? What is He calling my heart to support? Right. What needs it? Where is it best spent? And I would say first and foremost are my team. Yeah. Because they're the ones who have blessed me with the opportunity to have this. Yeah. And a lot of them, they are working their tails off and they're barely getting by. So I try to create opportunities first and foremost for them.
That's great.
But then where are the other places? Jason is an internist at Mayo. And it's interesting, in not only the last 5 years, but really the last 10 years as a society, and I'm big into the anxious nation and all these other sort of things, and Chris talks about that all the time in her podcast, is for our healthcare. When I see patients who are 90 and they're succeeding in life, they are connected with a greater purpose. I see a lot of the Sisters of Assisi, so I'm sort of like skewed. However, they are involved both emotionally, physically, financially with their purpose. They're giving back and they're part of a community. So these people are coming into Jason sick, and part of it is they don't have anybody. They're very lonely, and they blame sort of the world on their loneliness versus going to church, talking to the person sitting at the pew next to him, staying for coffee and donuts, trying to get involved, trying to give back of whatever their talent is. And I think of one patient that I had who was 90, and she was here and has passed since you came. But she came to be by her daughter. She was at the charter house. And I had said, my church, Zumbro, is looking for somebody to mail out at that time we were mailing out like the
newsletter,
the newsletter,
kind of,
and
basically.
It was something like that. So she started coming in for 4 hours every week and doing that.
Wow.
She made friends with all the ladies in the office, right? And she loved
community
it.
and purpose.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, and she had a reason to get up and a reason to come in.
Yeah.
And she had to take a little bus to get here, but she figured out a way to do it.
Yeah.
And you could not believe how much that changed her life. And
added longevity, probably.
Oh, yeah. And she was like 93 when she started it.
Wow.
And just loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it. And made all these friends at church. And she didn't quilt, but she would go down and see the ladies in the quilting group when she was here. Like, and that, to me, that's also part of stewardship.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's part of like, how can I guide her to something at this stage of her life? And it gives you health.
And provide the space for that.
Yes.
I mean, not just guide, but also as a congregation to provide those opportunities, be open to those opportunities and make it accessible, right?
100%.
Yeah.
So that she can get around if she's in a wheelchair or whatnot. What does she need? And she wasn't, but you think of how hard that had to have been for her.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And just like the family that she got out of that. Her daughter didn't come to our church. Her daughter started coming here.
Wow.
I mean, I feel like that is a part of that stewardship.
It is.
And those opportunities. I really think for my kids, so it's really great. My son is playing football at Florida State. Had a bye weekend, flew back late Thursday night, was here for Saturday for the game. And the first he sees Will Kipp, who they went on a mission trip to South America together from the church. Yeah. And they embrace each other like long lost brothers. Like they just, they didn't know each other before that trip. And they did play football 1 year together after that trip. But I just think of like that friendship that they have, that because people donated for them to go on this mission trip.
It was the financial gifts that really make that possible. It's a huge trip to South America. It's expensive.
But it's also from the pastoral staff to organize that, to put it together, because when it's far off, I want to go on a mission trip. I want to go to another country. Right. They all got COVID. Everybody but Ethan.
I remember I was brand new. Remember? I'd been here like 2 months. And this whole thing happened, and someone asked me a question about, do we put them all on a plane or not? Remember this?
It was a huge...
It was a big deal.
And to make that decision as a congregation is a big, big deal. You know? And to think of, like, that is God working at another level. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't, I know that they helped kids when they were down there. I know they did things, but that's what keeps a church together and keeps it growing. And you don't always see that seed. Right. Because it's planted and you have to water it for a long time before it really grows.
That's true. So a couple things. I want to get into the budget, mission plan aspect too. But something you said I wanted to at least point out, and maybe there's more to say there, maybe not. But you talked about being part of being a steward of the gift that you give to an organization, a church.
Yeah.
Is also be aware of how that gift is used.
Yeah.
Does that philosophy? I'm assuming I know the answer to this. Just we don't have to talk about the topics, but the questions that you ask in council, I find brilliant, important, timely. And maybe different than a certain percentage of any council, not this particular council. It's a different perspective that I don't always see lifted up. Is that a philosophy that guides some of those questions that you're asking and those points that you're lifting up?
It does, because whenever I buy a business or whatever, right? So at first you have to look at, it has to be viable. If it's not viable and the doors are not open, it does no good. Right. For anybody. It doesn't matter what grand scheme you have or good ideas you have. If you cannot be viable and pay the basic bills first, then you can't do anything. So that's check mark number 1. Yeah. Right?
Right.
Check mark number 2 has to be, how can I grow this? Because if you're not growing, you're dying. Right? Mm-hmm. Check mark number 3 is, what can I do to distribute or give extra? And if you're giving extra first, you're missing 2 major steps. You will for sure foreclose. And I don't see success in that.
Yeah.
And what happens is these young dentists, they buy a dental practice because they're so excited. And they are so excited about the Mercedes they're going to drive and the trip to Italy. So they buy the Mercedes on lease, and they're paying it 4 times as much as what they really should be, right?
Yep. Yep.
And they plan the trip to Italy. They have not paid off their debts. They have not paid their bills. They have not figured out, what do I need to spend to grow this thing or to keep it viable, right? And they've gone right to the glory. And you need to back up. And when I'm asking those questions, I think, and there's always different seasons in business.
For sure, right, absolutely.
And I think rules, unfortunately, then tie you in.
Right.
To unfortunate situations. Yeah. And when things are great, it's easy.
Yeah, you're never forced to challenge the rule or the policy or the practice, whatever, right?
Yeah. And I have to be honest, my sister's in New Jersey. They closed their church at the end of this month.
Oh, so this is a little bit raw for you.
Very, very raw.
Yeah.
And it's been like, my sister's been, she's currently the president of the church. Her and her husband both have. When the pastor's gone, my brother-in-law is the pastor. They are intimately involved in the church. They are not closing the church because they don't have members. The whole church is full. They don't have any money. So this is all a financial thing, right?
Yeah.
And you can say, I want to go to Joe Schmo, who is a millionaire, but he isn't going to keep paying and paying and paying to be then he's a bad steward of his money.
It kind of goes to it's not as egregious as the situation you gave before with there being the kind of spending of parties and trips or whatever, but it is akin to it to say that, listen, you can't go to 1 or 2 people to keep a church open when the practices don't change to help you be more sustainable. Is that fair?
That's 100% fair.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's fair for us to ask them to be a bad steward of their money.
Yeah.
To support our bad stewardship. And so, and I'm not saying that it's bad
no,
stewardship.
this isn't Zumbro specifically, but it is conceptual.
It's conceptual. And if you look across the country, there are churches foreclosing rapidly.
All the time.
Across the country.
Yes.
Same way with dental practices.
Yeah.
And they're all having to sell out to these corporate dentists because they are not making these fundamental decisions. They're buying the Mercedes before they're paying their payments. And it's just reversing that. Where my real talents come in, and this is what dentists pay me to come in and help them, is how do I grow it?
Yeah.
I love Calgini's books. It's the 6 Principles of Influence. Now he has 7, but it's the
it changes.
It's the book is great. Exactly. and I think it's very simple. Or how to win influence and friends. Also kind of the same concept.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the things that we're doing in Zumbro that we're trying to change are working towards that. We're seeing huge growth in new members.
Yep.
I think the remodel was the first step.
Yep.
I think that we've slowly tried to add these things in, and it's not something that happens overnight. Again, you plant a seed and you have to water it before it to go.
Yeah.
But to water it, you have to have a budget for it.
Right. Right.
And what we unfortunately have done is looked at these, like, what can we gift,
right,
versus what do we water so we can grow this so we have something to gift.
Right.
And we've put the order in the wrong order.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's hard because we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. This is just business.
I'm as a pastor, I've been a lead pastor at a couple congregations now. That is incredibly refreshing because you don't always hear that perspective. I told you this at one point. It's great. You need all kinds of perspectives on councils. You absolutely do. I want to make that super clear. And it is rare to get a successful entrepreneurial voice because churches are more akin to that small entrepreneurial business than they are to the corporate world or to if your perspective is, say, maybe you're a teacher or even a principal in the school district, you don't have the same concerns.
No. A
church is actually very similar.
It's a business.
It's a business, and you might not be selling a product, but you do have something to give to the world.
100%.
And all of these things that undergird the giving or sharing of that message are the identical things in a business. We have a mortgage, we've got payroll, you got utilities, and the other thing I kind of want to lift up a little bit is also that this, like you've been talking seed money, but maybe to get into that a bit more for churches, like you also have to be willing to spend some money that you're not 100% sure of what the outcome is.
Well, and I think that's one of the biggest conflicts for me with several of the other council members, and I don't know this because I'm new.
Yeah,
I'm getting to know that. But I believe I got the blessing to meet the old, and I'm so bad with names, the original owner of Chick-fil-A right before he passed away.
Oh, I don't know. Okay, I don't know. Yeah,
and I got to go down and tour the headquarters of Chick-fil-A, and they have this really interesting concept, and I love it. To start out with, the average McDonald's makes $2.1 million a year. Do you know how much an average Chick-fil-A, which is closed 52 days out of the year?
Okay, that's right. Yeah.
How much an average Chick-fil-A makes?
Well, just because I think you're setting me up, I'm going to say $4 million.
7.4.
Oh my goodness.
And what is the difference? And if you look at the number of employees at a Chick-fil-A versus the number of employees at a McDonald's, that is your stark difference, right? They both have a product. The product is both reasonably the same and good, right? Yeah. And they have this triangle concept. So they're going to have 4 members in front of the client. They're going to have 3 members behind that to support them and 1 manager to support that.
Okay.
Where McDonald's is going to have 2 and 1 manager.
Oh.
And in our case, we keep trying to get to less and less and less church employees, saying, like, if we get our payroll down, that's our biggest expense, right? Where I would argue if we have the right employees, they're going to help grow it, and we're going to have the support that we need to do that. Now, again, that's a philosophy. There's lots of different philosophies.
Sure.
Obviously, there's thousands of people being laid off in Minneapolis this week.
Right.
And so there's different companies, hey, I can replace you with AI, and I can't. But the church is in the business of relationships. How do you make a relationship? One person can only influence so many people.
Right.
And if you're in the business of relationships, you need people.
Yeah, exactly.
And
the more relationship, it actually comes. I think it's also the book Good to Great. I think it's chapter 4 where they talk about the right people on the bus.
100%.
Right. It's not even just the right people on the bus, but the right people in the right seats on the bus. Right.
100%. And the problem is you have to have enough people that you can get the wrong person off the bus.
Right.
Too.
Right.
And I would say that's another flaw that a lot of dentists have is they wait too long to ask the person to get off the bus.
Yeah.
And it's, how do you have those conversations? How do you but the only way you do that is if you have enough people on the bus to ask somebody to leave.
That's right.
And so, philosophy, like you got to pay your rent first.
Yep. Mortgage you got to pay your mortgage, otherwise the bank isn't knocking. Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's the basic. Step 2 is really to grow that core payroll.
Yeah.
And that core team. Mm-hmm. And I am constantly trying to educate people. And I look at it like anytime you would grow, say you hired somebody as a youth instructor or somebody to run the music, right?
Yep.
God is giving jobs to 2 people there.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's a way for us to support 2 more families.
Yes, it is.
That's potentially 10 more people that we're supporting.
Right.
In a time where it's hard to get a job.
Yeah.
And so, like, I look at that when I hire somebody, or if I'm ending a relationship, I am taking that away from somebody.
Right.
And that's a big deal.
Huge
Both
deal.
ways.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, that's being steward of your money as well.
Exactly.
And if you're employing somebody who's not helping us grow and not having that difficult decision, then you're not being a good steward. Just like if you're not hiring somebody when you should be,
Right.
you're not a good steward.
Right.
And so it's a constant, like, and if
You never arrive.
you never arrive
Right.
at where you need
never
to
arrive.
go.
Right.
Because, and they talk about like a 10-degree employee. If you have somebody who's 90 degrees, they're not on board. But if they're 10 degrees, that's going to end you up in LA versus Seattle. If
Right.
you're leaving from New York.
Right, right.
And that's a big difference.
And that's a wrong direction.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. And so that's how I try to look through stewardship.
Yeah.
Is and it's really, to me, visionary with a budget. You need to have, Dennis and I might disagree on this.
Go for it. Let's see. I'll ask him later. I see him in 3 hours. all
Okay.
right?
My accountant sometimes is like, because I am definitely a visionary.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? I like to think big picture. I like to think creatively. And if you're not trying things like a podcast or writing a book, and it's not even, people say, well, people aren't reading books today. It's the art of
Have you seen Amazon.com? I mean, what
100%.
happened to your paperless office, right? That
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's so much more to that.
Yeah.
And it's a way to get people involved. It's a way to get kids involved. And I think anytime you do that, but you have to have that visionary, how can we grow in more than just a standard way?
Right.
And I look at service too. Right now, we really have 3 churches.
That's so true. Say more. How do you see the 3 churches?
Well, because I think even if you have 2 services, they have very different personalities.
Yes.
And I have multiple offices.
Yeah.
We do the exact same service, the exact same fees, the exact same computer software, the exact same instruments. They are all like stepchildren. They all have different needs.
Yeah. Yeah.
They all have different blessings.
Yeah.
They all have different gifts. They all have different feels. They all have different talents. And so it's really hard. And I compare like the 2 services that I go to, they have drastically different feels.
Yep.
Drastically, I'm assuming that the prep for one is totally different than the prep for the other.
Yep. Same team preps them both, but it is still a different animal. Yeah.
So it's twice as much work.
Yeah.
And so to me, and I recognize that you're not putting work into the third one a lot. However, we basically are housing 3 different churches
Yes.
under this roof.
Yes.
And that alone takes a fair amount of energy just to manage.
Yeah.
And I thought, I have 2 buildings that are a mile apart.
No biggie, right? No
big deal. It is so challenging.
Yeah.
And communication
It's
between
impossible.
those 2. Because something gets started in this one, and what this one gets is telephone of that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And something...
LA, New York.
LA, New York. That's 100%.
Yeah.
Right? And how do you keep that ship going in the same direction is very, very, and I understand that's way off from stewardship.
Well, it is and it's not. I mean, because maybe I don't articulate this enough, but it leads me to at least say, these multiple types of congregations you have within the building is also part of the vision, right? People need different things.
Yeah. 100%.
People need different things. Not everyone resonates with one of those vibes. Some people resonate with one of the other vibes. Other people resonate with something we don't provide, but because you can't stretch too thin. So part of that vision is to say there is a message, a Christian message that Zumbro stands for, and it's about service, it's about community, it's about the other, and we've said these things. That same message is proclaimed and lived out through these different communities. But why would we reduce the number of or even type of person to share that message with by doing only one thing. If we can stretch to do, say, two things, two different worship services with two different musical languages, that just increases, I guess the business language would be our market share, right?
Yeah.
A possibility of who we could reach automatically increases just because you're doing it differently in a way that may resonate with people who may not walk in the building because we only do it one way.
Yeah. Well, and I think this is a philosophical difference, right? Because I'm a minimalist.
Yep.
And I would argue you can't be the jack of all trades.
Right. And it's a fair argument. That's a fair point.
And so at some point, you really have to sit back and say, okay, this has been a philosophy of our church. Right. Is this still what it should be? And maybe it should. Or maybe it should evolve to something that this is what we really are, and we can serve this group. And we can serve this group better because we're only doing this. Yep. And
is it another way to say it? This is a bit of a stretch, but just for another way to maybe say what you're bringing up is serving two or three different communities kind of like getting a Mercedes.
Yeah.
Like to your earlier point, is it going to the glory of look at all we can do when maybe we're stretching too far to even be able to do one well? That's
100%. And I'm not saying I'm right.
No.
I'm just questioning status quo.
As you should. That's what you're here for.
And so I have two great mentors, which are women now entering their 90s that were big business women in town. And one was Cynthia Dobby. She owned this bakery, Dobby's Bakery in town. And I just love her. I think she's really, really smart. And she talked to me. She used to have this carrot cake that everybody, Dr. Sperling would want it every year for his birthday. And I thought she's, from German descent, that it was this good old German recipe. Nope. She did research to find out what cake she could make that would have the longest shelf life, she liked the taste of the best. It was just out of a magazine that she had gotten it. And she had tested several cakes before she found this. And she kept it to a minimal. And so this bakery made a lot of money when she was there because she was able to, she's like, this is what I did good. Mm-hmm. And so we did a lot of it. And I was dabbling in Botox, and I was dabbling in doing this and dabbling in doing that. And she's like, when you're doing a little bit of everything, you're doing nothing good. Mm-hmm. And you need to really focus on what is it that you do good, right, and do that really, really well. Right. And I think back to that advice that she gave me all the time, because she's 100% right. And I love to look at sparkly things. So I'm constantly.
I do too. I like the sparkly thing.
Constantly trying all these different things. Mm-hmm. And I need to know what is it that I'm really good at. Yeah. And I need to do that really well. And I need somebody in my life, and that's Dave Peterson at Dunlap Seeger, who just tells me no all the time. And Katie, that's a dumb idea. Don't do that.
Sarah is the one in our office that tells me no. I'll go and say, I want to spend money here. She'll look at me and she'll say no. And I'll walk away and pout. She's usually right. That's I have somebody right here in the office who tells me no.
Yeah. So I think that's the only thing that I push back on that is I'm not saying it's, and if you know what, if you're passionate enough about it, like we're serving 3 different communities, mm-hmm, and I think you're doing a great job. That's why I'm coming. However, that's where I would push back is, are we really doing what our mission is? And if you don't,
doing it to the best of our ability.
Doing it to the best of our ability. Yeah. And would we be able to do it better if we would just pick one way?
Yeah.
And what would that bless us with?
Right.
And or should there be 4 ways?
Right. I mean, it can go
both ways.
But that entrepreneurial question, I mean, that's the question. I mean, that's a type of question that, why I asked you to do this, right?
Yeah.
Is to help both the listeners, the congregation members, those who are considering gift or give of their time and their talents as well, as far as what we do, for them to also think about, like, what are we able to do? Are we doing the best we can? Are we being entrepreneurial with those gifts? Are we being frivolous with those gifts?
Right.
I mean, that's what kind of how you started. Again, going back to the Mercedes things. I mean, that you have to have a balance.
100%.
You can't always just do the same thing all the time. On the flip side, you can't do everything either. And there's a balance of forward-leaning and sustaining and forward-leaning and sustaining. Is that?
100%.
Yeah.
And I would say, I want to make sure I add in here the impact that confirmation has had on my kids. And so for me, that's an easy thing to donate money to.
Yeah.
And like Mary Dahl has mentored my oldest son, Ethan, and is now doing it with my daughter, Olivia. That they talk about Chris, who's a counselor, and she was talking about the psychology of having this outside adult who can mentor your child in a positive, where they feel, because they separate from you as a middle schooler, and they don't want to listen to any parent, but they will listen to somebody at confirmation, and having that bond and the impact that will have for the next 60 years of his life. So he goes to church in Tallahassee. He donates his money, which is not very much.
Yeah, but it's something.
It's something, and it's hard for him to do that. And financially, I would say it's interesting. I do this free day in our office every September. Anybody in the community can come and get free dental work. And we've done it for years. My team, a large number of the people really struggle to do that, because they're used to barely getting by, and learning to give your money away is a hard thing.
Sure, yes.
And especially when you're barely paying rent and it's hard to pay for food and to eat, and you've got kids. So to give anything away is really not something that you're naturally gifted with.
Right.
Like you don't have that feeling. And it's funny, this amazing blessings when you financially give something away, how it comes back to you from God.
Yeah.
And that's what this J taught me, is if you donate and you're a good steward of it, you are paid tenfold, and in weird ways.
And usually unforeseen and undefinable ways until you experience it.
Yes. Yeah. And I wish that there was a way to study that, or a way to have like physical. I'm sure there is.
I'm sure somebody has, right? There's a dissertation somewhere.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's funny, if you read How to Think and Grow Rich, this is one of the main concepts in that book.
Yeah.
If you read any of the Rockefeller books, it's the main concept in those books. Yeah. In any of these books, it's this sort of known business tactic that even without any tax exemptions, even when you're not getting there, there's something magical that happens. Yeah. And I would push to give to the confirmation kids, because I value that so much.
Well, I don't disagree, because I'm that's good to hear, because I'm really a fan of this type of confirmation, which is what I've done my whole career. Exactly what just to name it, so people know what we're talking about. As much whatever your confirmation experience was growing up, generations before, the world of kids is just different. It just is. And they're busy and they're tired, and it's a different kind of tired. It's a different kind of busy. I think the best expression of gospel for these kids is not necessarily the memorization of everything.
No.
But the experience of a loving, caring Christian adult in their lives.
And connection.
And then the connection that comes with the other kids in those groups as well. Because that's the community that they might go, I don't really fully remember or know what this community is about, but I know what they gave me.
And I know how they made me feel.
And I was valued, and I didn't have to be someone else, and I didn't have to pretend, and I could ask questions. And those are the kind of things that, from a Jesus and from our church standpoint, is to say, because you may not articulate it. We're not all theologians. We're not all Bible scholars, but we can understand when we are loved.
Yeah.
Full stop.
100%.
Full stop. That's what we want.
And Ethan and I got in this big discussion. God is there when you're doing things amazing to keep you humble and to give the glory to him. But he's also there when things are really tough and life is hard. That's right. It's hard for everybody. And then when you least expect it. And that's when I think if that seed is deep inside of you,
Yeah.
that's what gives you a foundation. And you never know, like he's run into this horrible situation with Ethan Pritchard, the boy in the dorm next to him, who was shot in the head.
Oh, geez.
5-star football player, taking his aunt home, his car randomly gets shot up. And how do you, as an 18-year-old, when you've spent 4 months working beside this boy, how do you handle that and trust in God that there's a purpose greater for this kid than football?
Right.
And there's some reason that this happened. And that's when having that faith can really be super important. And that comes from that confirmation.
That's right.
So,
Well, I could talk all day. I have like 9 questions that would lead to probably 20 other questions. But to respect everyone's time and yours, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your being candid. Thank you for the conversation. Thank you for ideas. And more than anything else, thank you for serving and sharing those gifts with this church, because I think your perspective is incredibly valuable. So thank you.
yeah, thank you.
You bet.